This is really the perfect example of what to say in a really tough grief conversation with someone from Mel Robbins. So I'm going to break down exactly what she does that is so great here so that you can use it too. So here we go.
Wow. Oh, shit.
This is a really tough loss, by the way. This is a really tough
Sounds
conversation
horrific.
to dive into. So first of all, the amazing thing that she does, I mean, we're literally 6 seconds in, is just acknowledge that this is really tough. Someone has shared with you something that's really tough, that's they've gone through, that's really crappy and shouldn't have happened to them in the first place. And immediately she said, sounds horrific. It sounds horrific. There's no sugarcoating it. I'm not going to try and pretend or make you feel like it's not as big as it is. You're right. It's really validating and reassuring when someone is going through something really difficult and we just acknowledge, yeah, it's difficult. So immediately she's done something that we always advise in these conversations.
My sister, the mother of my niece, really had to call us. There's nothing you can say or do.
Nope.
Except for be there when they need you.
Yes. And believe.
You can really tell that she's super locked in here. I think one of the ways that she does this is that she's not saying a lot. So this person has been talking now for about 20 seconds. And she said 2 words after this person explained what had happened to them. So yes and no, and there's also been a touch of the arm. Some people will be kind of touch adverse. You'll pick up on that in terms of their body language or just how, close your relationship, how comfortable they are with that in general. There are some other ways you can do this as well if you are kind of locked in and listening and don't want to interrupt the person. It can be just a nod of the head. It can be some kind of verbal reassurances that you're still on the line or still listening, which is especially helpful if you're on the phone or on a video call, for example. But notice how she's basically saying nothing at this point. She's just locked in and listening to the person and really present with her as well.
Believe in her capacity to be able to move through this.
Right. Yes,
I mean, you never, ever get over something like this. Right. You just learn to live with it. And one thing that helps me a lot with grief and helping people go through horrific tragedies is understanding that grief is the love you didn't get to express. And you
So notice here, she's not offering these kind of silver linings or false platitudes here. She's not offering any sort of solution or how to fix it. She's offering a really honest account, which is what a lot of people say when they're bereaved, which is there's nothing that can be done. There's nothing that can fix what has happened or bring the person back that you have lost. But there is also a hope here, which I think is what we're really trying to do when we offer silver linings. There's some sort of hope there for that family that they will get through this eventually. There is things that they can cling to, things that they can do for each other that's going to help them get through this time. It's not to say that it's not going to be tough, that it's not going to be really crappy, that it's not going to take a long time to get to that point, but there is a bit of hope there. So I think there is a way to frame that isn't, at least, or everything's going to be okay, or some of the other things that we typically say to people.
she's so lucky to have you. The worst part of something like this is you have to go through it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. You just have to go through it. And I'm sorry that this has happened to your family.
Yeah.
And I have no idea.
This is a phrase I tell people all the time. If you are sick of saying I'm sorry for your loss, or it doesn't feel genuine, or it doesn't land for you, I've spoken to a lot of people and I've asked them, what is the alternative to I'm sorry for your loss? A lot of bereaved people are, they hear it constantly and it doesn't necessarily land as the most empathetic phrase. It feels a little bit overdone. And I'm sorry that this happened to you, or I'm sorry that this happened to your family is often a very much preferred option. So the fact that she even used this phrase here is really interesting.
Idea what's going to happen, but I do know this. You're not going to go through this alone. And if there's one person that can figure out how to make something profoundly meaningful out of this tragedy and her legacy, it's you.
Yeah. Thanks so much. You're welcome. Thank you.
Isn't it great? I honestly think this is just such a great example of what to do in this situation. It really acknowledges what this person is going through without minimizing it or making the person feel like it's less of a big deal than it is. I mean, losing your niece to a drunk driver is such a sudden and tragic and horrific thing to go through. And I think Mel did a really great job here of actually acknowledging the reality of what this person was going through. There was a lot of space for listening, not a ton of talking, not a ton of advice, no kind of solutions or fixing, but there was a lot of reassurances. You're going to get through this as a family. I believe in your ability to get through this. She's so lucky to have you. All of these things are so reassuring without offering any sort of solutions. And there was also just a lot of warmth in here. There was a lot of presence and, you know, not rushing to get through the conversation, not trying to change how the person is feeling. So if you're ever feeling stuck in a group conversation, I highly recommend coming back to this example. I just think it's a really great, you know, case study almost in how to really nail these conversations.